baby, when I turn it on. And if you want it inside your soul, just open up your heart, let music take control. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet, that hot blood in my body, it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, it's so phenomenally. I'm not the way we rock it, so don't stop that. Nights when everything goes, no matter hard when I'm getting you close. When we move, then you already know. It's just watch it, just watch it, just watch it. I can see what you need. Dance. Pushing up on this, dance. All the things I should do, but you dance. Ain't nobody leaving, so stay dancing. I can't stop it. So just dance. Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Alexander. I hope that everyone is doing great today. There's a little bit of sun outside that we can see when we look. It's a bit cloudy, but at least the sun is out today. We are alive. We are getting ready to paint. I know we have to be indoors, not your favorite thing to do, but at least we get to paint together. And we can take ourselves with our painting and escape that way using our paintbrushes and using our canvases. So even though we cannot be outside physically with our bodies, can't do the things we usually do, we can't go to the playground, we can't go to school at this time, at least right now we have each other. We will be painting together and escaping on our canvas as we paint today. Today, our painting is family hearts. I want you to think of those in your family, or perhaps you want to think of somebody you can't be with at the moment. So it might be your grandma, it might be your teacher, it might be grandpa, nana, an auntie that you especially love, but you can't get to be with her at this time. So we're going to paint some family hearts. On the original painting, I've got 3 hearts. But because you are the artist and because this is your painting, you get to decide how many hearts you'd like to put onto your canvas. I'm going to do 5 hearts today, so I've decided to switch my canvas into the landscape position. The original one was done in a portrait style, but today we're going to do landscape position, or if you want to call it the hamburger position, so going all the way across that way. We are going to get ready to paint. Before we get started, I like to make sure we have all the supplies that we need. I know it might be tough for you to get supplies at this time. Try and use things that you already have at home, and I will guide you through some of the things that you can use. Like mentioned before, we're going to be using a canvas. The canvas I'm using today is a 9 by 12 canvas board. It's very thin. That's okay. If you have the stretch canvas, which is slightly thicker, that's fine as well. You can use that for your painting. Canvas board. If you do not have a canvas board, an old cereal box, you can take the cereal box, cut it off. You can paint with white on it so that it's a fresh canvas looking surface, nice and fresh and white to start. Then, once you have your canvas or some sort of surface to paint on, you can use paper as well. It's a little thinner, so the paper might buckle when you use it, which is always best to use canvas. But if not, use a piece of board, paint it over in white, or at the very least, use paper if that's what you have at home. We want to make sure as well we have paintbrushes because we are painting. We're going to use a large paintbrush and a small paintbrush. So I've got my large paintbrush here and I've got my small paintbrush. If you do not have a large paintbrush and a small paintbrush, at the very least, I guess we can finger paint. If not, you're going to use a large paintbrush and a small one. If you've got more than 2 paintbrushes, great. At the bare minimum, 2 paintbrushes, or you can use your fingers to paint it. When an artist is painting, when it's time to mix their paints, what they usually use is something called a palette knife. This is a palette knife. It can be plastic or it can be metal. Today, if you do not have a palette knife, I would recommend you use a popsicle stick. You can have about 2 of these, 2 or 3 of these. We're going to use this when it's time to mix the paint colors that we need. You're going to be using your popsicle sticks. We also have to use something to put our paints on. If you do not have what artists use, which is a palette, this is my palette surface. I place the paints on the various wells or on this palette. If you don't have a palette, that's okay. You can use an old plastic lid that you might have had lying around in the kitchen, or an old disposable plate. Today I'm going to be using a disposable plate that I've had with me. So sometimes when I've had a party or a get-together and I finish using the disposable plates, if it only had a slice of cake on it or so, I just wash that off and I can use it again. Double use. Use it for the party, but I can also use it to paint with for future. So that's something I like to do to perhaps save the environment and give something a go around twice. Today we are using 4 sets of colors at the bare minimum. The colors we're going to be using today would be what I call your primary colors. You're going to be using yellow, blue, and red. As close to these that you have, that's great, because we can mix these primary colors to get secondary colors as needed. I've also added a bit of white because I know that I'm going to be using my white to lighten things up and make them a little brighter and lighter as I paint as we go along. So make sure you have your 4 colors as we're going. Today my assistant is going to be my daughter Nisa, and she's going to be helping me when you send your message. Oh, looks like Tara Lynn has said that I'm making her dizzy. Oh, Tara Lynn, is it my balloons behind me? I'm so sorry if my balloons behind me are making you dizzy. Or was it when my painting was dancing at the beginning? I thought I had fun doing it because it was like dancing. My painting was dancing. But maybe it was that I was moving it too quickly for you. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, looks like the Andersons, the A-team is here with me this time around. I'm so glad you're able to join us, Mrs. Anderson and family. I'm glad that you can join us this time around. So I'm hoping you're getting your supplies ready so that you can join us. I'm going to ask my daughter Nisa to bring me another large paintbrush for me from my supplies at the back. So she's going to grab that for me. Thanks, Sarah, for letting me know that the canvas dancing at the beginning was a little too much and made you a little bit too dizzy. I'm going to try not to do that next time. I had fun doing it, but I realized that if it's going to make you dizzy, I do not want that to happen. So thanks for letting me know. Okay, so get your supplies together. While you do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Mrs. Alexander, or you can call me Mrs. A. So today you're doing art with Mrs. A. I'm a teacher, usually in the daytime a supply teacher, but right now I'm at home just like everyone else, all these students. And I'm thinking of my students who are at home. Perhaps you're doing a bit of homeschooling, perhaps you're online with your teachers doing online sessions, but every now and then it's good to take a little break and do something creative. So today we're going to be painting, to take a little break. Math is great, language is great, and so is creativity. So you want to squeeze that in there as well so you can hopefully join us as we paint and get creative today. So I grew up in the country of Trinidad and Tobago as a little kid, and where I'm from, it's very, very hot. We have 2 seasons. It's a rainy season and it's a dry season. I definitely did not experience winter until I was about the age of 17 when I came up to Canada. Absolutely loved where I grew up, and I grew up drawing a lot and painting a lot. So I continued doing that over time. And the more I practiced, the better I became at it. So same idea for you. The more you practice your painting, the more you practice your drawing, if that's something you absolutely love, the better you'll become at it. Okay, I think by now you should have your supplies. So guess what? We're going to get ready to paint. What we're going to do and start with is our background. And if you look at it, you can see that our background is green. It's got green with a bit of blue. Now remember, I've always mentioned to you that you are the artist. You get to decide what color you would like for your background. So if green and blue is not the background you would like to have, go ahead and switch it up. You are the artist. Feel free to decide what you would like to do. I'm just going to guide you through the steps to complete this. but you are free as the artist to do what you would like. So like I mentioned, we did our canvas in this landscape position. And what I'm going to do to get my background into this green is I'm going to have to mix two of my colors. And I think you might know how we get the color green. You're going to have to mix blue and yellow. So with mixing of blue and yellow, we're going to get ready to get our green. And we're going to do that now. So this is what I'm going to show you as I do it. Because the blue is the darker color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop up some of my yellow first. I'm going to find a separate spot on my palette to put it. I'm going to take my yellow. Good. Putting my yellow. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my blue up. I'm going to put that into the yellow. And I think you know what yellow and blue make. When you mix it together, you get green. Yes. There we go. Oh, beautiful green. I love it. Now, if you look at the green, it's pretty intense. It's pretty dark. I don't want my green to be this dark for my background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some white to it. I'm going to use the other side of my popsicle. I'm going to scoop up some of my white. I'm going to put it into the green that I mixed. Because I thought it was a little too dark for my background. Here we go. Lightening it up a bit by adding white to it. When you see the color background that you like, then we can get started on our background. And I do like this color green that I mixed. And now I'm going to put that onto my canvas. To get that done, I'm going to be using my large brush. Because I'm going to be covering a large area, I'm going to be using my large brush. So what I will do first is take my large brush, and put it into my cup of water. I forgot to mention, because these are acrylic paints, you're definitely going to be needing a cup with some water. I'll give you a moment to grab that if you need, and if you didn't get that ready. It would have been in my list of supplies, but just in case you missed it, a large cup of water. I'm going to take my large brush, dunking it into the water, shaking off the excess inside the cup. I'm going to squeeze the excess off, just resting it on the edge so the excess water can run right back into the cup. Now that my brush is wet, I'm going to scoop up that light green paint that I mixed. And now I'm going to spread that onto my canvas. Because this is the color that I absolutely love for my background, I'm going to take my time with the large brush and using large strokes going left to right. There is that color for my background. Absolutely beautiful. Now, because these are acrylic paints, I'm seeing that now that I'm putting my color on, I'm beginning to get lots of white spots underneath. The color of my green is not covering my canvas as I would like. It just means that my brush is dry and I'm going to need some more paint. So I'm going to take my paintbrush, dip it into the water again, shake off the excess. And now I'm going to scoop up some more of that beautiful color that I mixed. And I'm going to continue. Oh, there it is. I'm going to give a little touch of water again because it's a little dry. I can see it. I'm going to completely cover my background in my green that I mixed. And I mix my green by mixing my blue and my yellow. How are we doing? Drop me a line. Let me know how I'm doing. Is the pace okay for you? Do I need to slow down? Large strokes all the way across. All the way across. I'm going to get my brush wet again because it's getting a little dry. So send me a message. Let me know where you are right now. Are you in Toronto? Are you in Brantford? Are you in Mississauga? Let me know where you're painting. Getting some more of my paint again. Putting it onto my canvas, spreading the color all the way across. We're going to completely cover our canvas with the green that we mixed. I need to get some more paint. There we go. Always make sure that as you're going, you're getting your brush wet. Because they are acrylic paints, they will best when you use water with it. Helps the color to spread easily on the canvas. About 2/3 of the way on my canvas. I hope you are at this point as well. How are we doing? Let me know. Get some more of that paint, picking up that color that I mixed for my background. Getting ready to put it onto my canvas. Getting my brush wet, picking up the paint color. Completely cover your canvas in your mix of green that you created. So to get the background color, oh, looks like Stephanie from Brantford is with us. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie. Thanks for letting me know where you're from. Our background color we created by mixing a bit of blue with some yellow, and then we added some white. And it's your background color, so you decide if the color is too dark or too light for you. When you get the color that you like, simply put it onto your canvas. There we go. We're getting all of that covered up with our large brush. Because we're doing a large area, we're going to use a large brush. Good. I'm almost at the bottom of my canvas. How are you doing? Have you completely covered your canvas yet? Are you almost there? Guess what? Now that I've covered my entire canvas, I see that it's a little more green at the top and a little more blue at the bottom. I'm actually going to flip my canvas because I think I want my green to be at the bottom. Well, I don't know. As the artist, I get to decide how I would like my painting to look. I'm going to flip it around like this. Yeah, I think I like how that looks. How is your background coming along? Do you like the color that you've mixed for your background? I hope so. Completely finish covering your entire background with the color that you would like. How are we doing? Let me know. I've always loved to paint since I was as far back as I can remember. So maybe around the age of 4 or 5, I always loved painting. And like I said, I've practiced and I've practiced and I've practiced. A lot of practicing, but it's doing something that I absolutely love to do. And I'm hoping that you're loving your painting and how it's coming along for you today. Let me know. Okay, now that my background is completely covered, I'm going to get ready for my next step. I don't know if you can see it on the painting, but there are lines going diagonally on my painting, and I'm going to add some of those. All I'm going to do now is get my brush wet, and that's my large brush. I'm going to take a little bit of white, not a lot. You can hardly see the amount of white that I have on my brush. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put some lines diagonally on my canvas. That's just going to lighten it up a bit. So I've completely covered my background, but now I'm going to take my large brush. I'm going to put a little bit of white on it. I'm going to get my brush wet, making sure that my brush is wet. And now I'm going to put some diagonal lines across my canvas. I did not clean my brush to get that done. My brush already had my background paint color on it. But now I'm just going to take a little bit of white on my brush and I'm going to completely go over it again diagonally, which means from this corner to this corner, not going straight across, but diagonally. A little hint of white. Ooh, somebody said they're all the way in Niagara. Thanks for joining us. Again, getting my brush wet, taking a little hint of white in there, and going diagonally across the canvas. A little bit of white. If you do not want to do this step, you don't have to. This is your painting. You can leave your background as we had it before. I just thought it'd be nice little design in our background. Almost done. There we go. Diagonally going all the way across. Once that's done, you can clean your large brush. So you're going to take your large brush, you're going to put it into the water, and you're going to clean it out. Take a look at it, see if the paint is still in it. If it is, put it back in the water again. Oh, looks like I'm all cleared. Scrape the excess off the edge of your cup. Lightly dab it on the paper towel. And place that down. We are getting ready for our next step. For our next step, we're going to get our branch done. So the branch is going across the canvas from one side to the next. On this one, it's going from the left to the right. But if you'd like to do your branch from the right to the left, feel free to do that. It's your choice because, again, this is your painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the color brown. If you have brown paint, great. If you do not have brown paint and you're worried, oh my goodness, how am I going to get that branch color? We're going to mix our colors to get the brown that we need. To get the color brown, I'm not sure if you know, some of you might, we're going to mix all three of our colors together. We're going to mix our blue, we're going to mix our red, and we're going to mix our yellow till we get the brown that we need. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow paint. I'm going to take my yellow paint, find a spot where I can put it on my palette or my paper plate. I'm going to take a little bit of red, put that into the yellow that I found a spot for. And then I'm going to take a bit of my blue, and I'm going to put that into the red and yellow mix. Mix all three colors together. And you should get a brown. Now, if your brown is too dark and it has too much blue in it, you can add more of the red to it. So I'm going to take a little bit more red, put it into my mix. I'm not sure if you're seeing my mix, it's right here. It's got a lot of blue in it, so I'm going to add more red and more yellow to it. Oh, there we go. Some more brown. It's going to be a dark brown, but that's okay. If you think the brown is too dark for you, you can add a little more yellow, and you can add maybe a hint of white, but I want my brown to be nice and dark. My brown's still a little too blue for me. I'm going to add a little more red, so I'm scooping up a bit of red and putting it into my brown mix. Oh, there we go. So if you don't have brown paint that you bought at the stores, you can mix the brown that you need. You're going to take a little bit of blue, you're going to take generous, so more red than blue, and you're going to take a little bit of yellow and mix. Take your popsicle stick and mix the colors. Now that I think that I've gotten the brown that I need, I'm going to get ready to do my branches. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick with the branches. You might say to yourself, oh my goodness, I don't have a small paintbrush. I'm going to show you a little trick that helps you paint with a large brush to get a thin line if that's what you needed. And because our branch is fairly thin, we don't want it to be too thick. But again, you're the artist, so if you wanted a thick branch, go ahead. But I'm going to show you how you can get a thin line using a large brush. When you're doing something that requires a thin line, and let's say, for instance, you had a large brush. I'm going to do a little demo on this plate that I have here. This is my large brush. The more I press on my brush, the wider my line will be. So the more pressure I apply to my canvas, the wider my line will be. The less pressure I apply, or the less I press on my canvas, the thinner my line will be. Or, as well, depending on the type, so I've had a thin, flat brush. It's large, but it's thin and flat. I'm going to show you a couple ways. Taking my large brush, in order for me to get it nice and thin, I can flatten both sides. I'm going to flatten it by pressing it on one side, flatten it by pressing on the other side. I'm going to use the thin, because now it's thin and flat, get a thin line. If you've got a round brush like this one, I'm going to show you how applying less pressure gets a thinner line for you. So I'm going to take another kind of brush that I have. If I take this brush and I apply pressure on it, on my canvas, I get a thick line. You see that? But if I don't want my brush to have such a thick line, it's the same brush, I'm not going to press as much and apply as much pressure on my canvas. Just using the tip of my brush, I use sometimes my little pinky finger to help lighten up on the pressure on my brush. I can get a thin line using that same brush. The more pressure you apply, the thicker your line will be. The less pressure you apply on your brush, the thinner your line will be. So we're going to get ready to do our branch. We know that the tips of the branch are going to be a lot thinner or tinier than the part that's coming off of the tree itself, off the tree trunk. So whatever side you decide to do your branch starting from, it's going to be a little thicker on one side, and as you come to the tips of the branch, it's going to be a lot thinner. So I'm going to use my larger brush, but it might be better for you to use your smaller brush if you have one. If you don't, use your large brush and just apply less pressure. So I'm going to do my branch going from one side to the next. Here we go. We're going to do it about, because I've done my canvas in this landscape position, no more than maybe about 2 finger joints down. I want to leave the space at the bottom for my hearts. So no more than a finger's length, but I would recommend about 2 finger joints down. I'm going to start putting a little dot in the spot where I'd like my branch to start. There's my little dot where my branch is going to start. And now I'm going to take my branch going all the way across. I'm using my large brush, but I'm using the thin flat side of it. A branch does not have to be straight. Oh my goodness, no, it does not. We've gone from one side to the other. I definitely want this side of my branch to be thin and tiny. And I want this side of my branch to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to go over that again so it becomes a little bit wider on this end. How are we doing with your branch? By now you should have had your brown color mixed. So we're taking our branch, is going to be wider on this side. This is the side that's attached to the tree trunk. That's the side. And this is the side. So this side should definitely be wider than my thin side. Your branch does not have to be straight. This is something found in nature. It's definitely going to have little bumps and dents in it. There we go. That's my main branch. If you look at the original painting that I did, there's a few little twigs coming off of that one. So I'm going to add that. Again, going from one side to the next. I'll put one right here maybe. And maybe I'll add one more. 3 is always a good number when you are painting. Where should I put this next branch? It doesn't have to be in exactly the same spot as the others. Here we go. There it is. So just make sure that the tips of your branches are really tiny compared to the part that's coming off the tree trunk. So I might even widen this a little bit more on this end. There we go. How are your branches coming along? I know we have someone from Niagara Falls, and we have someone from Brantford painting with us. Do we have anyone else from anywhere? Drop me a line. Let me know how we're doing. Let me know where you're painting. And oh my goodness, there's Liz. Liz Weaver, you're joining me today. Thank you for joining me. I miss you too. It's been a while since you've been in my class. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're painting on the downtime when we're home. So I hope you get to paint. I hope you're painting with us today. And if not, I'm just glad that you even popped in to say hi. Thanks for joining me today. Liz is one of my students, one of my, I'll say, younger students in my class. She's actually a good friend of mine as well, and we had so many things in common. I think we were both left-handed. We both had birthdays in September. Her spirit so reminds me of mine. She's a happy person. Love Liz. She's actually quite a wonderful spirit and person to know. And I'm glad that she's looking at our painting with us today. So your branch should be done by now, and we're getting ready for our next step. Oh, looks like Stephanie is painting with us as well today. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining in, and thanks for sharing our paint sessions with Kitastic as well. I appreciate that. So that kids who come to Kitastic, even though they can't be at Kitastic today, at least they can paint and get some creativity out by joining with us and painting today. So I'm glad that you're here joining us as we paint. By now, your branch should be done. We're going to add a little bit of detail to our branches now. So I'm going to clean my brush from the brown, cleaning that off. Taking a look to see if the paint is out of the brush. If it's not, put it back in there again, swish it around. Looks like the brown paint is out. Scraping the excess off the edge of the cup. Now, we're going to add some fine detail to our branch, and we're going to put a few little leaves that are coming in on our tree, just like it is right now. If you look outside on the trees, if you can see any, we have little buds coming in, so we're going to add a bit of that. We're going to need some green to get that done. So if you cannot remember, or if you don't have green paint, you're going to mix a bit of yellow with a bit of blue. I still have some on my palette, on my plate. So I'm going to mix a bit of yellow and blue. That's how you get the color green. So take your popsicle stick, take up some of your yellow, put it on a separate spot on your palette, then take some of your blue paint, scoop a little bit up, put it into the yellow paint, take your popsicle stick and stir till you get the color green. And we're going to use the green color to make little leaves on our branch. So yellow and blue gives us the color green. We mix our two primary colors, the yellow and blue. Now we've got green. I'm going to take my small paintbrush because we're doing a small area and we're doing some fine detail. So we're going to be using our small brush for this step. Small brush, getting my small brush wet first, then putting it into my green paint. And now I'm going to add a few of the little green leaves that are now coming in because it's almost like it's springtime. So I'm going to add one little leaf. And when you're doing your little leaf, you can do it in about a 3-step stroke. So I'm going to show you, maybe I'll show you a large version of it first right here. So you're going to do, can you see that? You're going to do 1, 2, and then fill in the middle. That's how I get my leaves done. If you have another way of getting it done, then you can do that. I'll show you again. 3 strokes. 1 with a slight curve, 2 curving on the other side, and then fill in that middle. That's what I do to get my leaves done as I put them on the branches. So I'm going to take a look at some of my comments. Oh, somebody says the white keeps coming through the brown. And is that the white from your background? So perhaps your background isn't dried enough yet for your branches to get done. When you're also putting the brown on, remember I spoke about pressure and not applying as much pressure onto the canvas. So number 1, your background color is probably not dry just yet, so give it a moment to dry a little bit more. When it's not shiny, it means that it's dried a bit. If you're still seeing a sort of gloss, sort of shine to your background color, it means that it's still a bit wet. You might want to wait for that to dry a bit. As well, you could, when you're applying your brown, don't apply as much pressure on your paintbrush. So actually what you're doing is almost like a layering idea where you're putting the brown on top of your other colors that you have there as well. So the less pressure you apply, the more you can put the paint or layer the paint on top of your background color. So perhaps that's what might be happening with your painting. If you want your brown to be a lot darker, because to get the color brown, we mix our 3 primary colors. We mixed our yellow, we mixed our red, and we mixed our blue. If you want that to be a bit darker, you can add more of the blue color to it. So add more of the blue and perhaps even a bit more of the red. But more blue, more red. And remember as well that a tree branch doesn't have to be brown. It could be a dark sort of blackish color. It can be a dark sort of bluish color. This is something you find in nature. It does not have to be exactly brown. As long as it's a dark color that you can see against your background. Okay? Okay. So I'm hoping that you can catch up to where we are, which is adding our little leaves that are on the branches. You decide how many leaves you would like to add because you are the artist. And I like to do my leaves in 3s. When people are painting or when artists are painting, it's always a good idea to do things in 3s or in 3rds. It's more appealing to the eye that way, and so that's why we tend to do things like that. I've put 3 branches on my branch that I have. In my original painting, I have 3 hearts. It's always a good idea because it's more appealing to the eye So you can try that. You can do 3, you can do 5. That would be my recommendation. Or 7, that's always a good number as well when you're doing your painting. So for my leaves, I'm going to do them in 3s. You can do 1 in 5s. You can even do just one if you wanted to. Because you are the artist and this is your painting, you get to decide exactly how you'd like your painting to be. So I've done one little leaf with my 3-stroke, 1, 2, and then 1 down the middle. I'm going to add a second one, 1, 2, 3, and I'll add another one right in that spot as well. 1, 2, and 3. So I put 3 little leaves there. I'm going to add a few more. So I'm not just going to leave it in that one spot. Where should I do my next one? I'm going to make the ones that are at the tips of the branches a little bit smaller than the one I did at this end. Not as big for sure. I'm going to do a really tiny one. There we go. Nice and tiny. I'm going to do, maybe I'll do another one right here. You are the artist. You get to decide exactly where you'd like these leaves to. Maybe I'll add another one somewhere else. Maybe right here. There we go. How are your branches coming along with your little leaves? Drop me a line. Let me know how you're doing. Yep, gonna add another little one right there. Maybe I'll add a tiny one. Maybe I'll just put 2 on this one. I'll just put one right there as well. Slightly bigger. Your leaves don't have to be exactly the same length. Remember that leaves are things that you find in nature. And just like people, we look different. The same thing with leaves. You don't have to have 2 leaves looking exactly the same. Just like in nature, we can have things just naturally occurring, different sizes, different shapes, different lengths. Always remember that. Just like people, we're all unique. There we go. Okay, so now that my leaves are just about done, we are getting ready to do our hearts. That's going to be our next step. So I'm cleaning my paintbrush. My leaves are done. Getting ready to do my hearts. Now, you decide how many hearts you'd like to do. Today I'm going to do 5 hearts for the 5 people in my family, my 3 kids, my husband, and myself. You decide how many hearts you would like to put on your painting. Do you want to put one for yourself, your mom, your dad, grandma, whoever you would like? So for our hearts, we're going to make sure we have enough red paint on our canvas, on our palette, sorry. We're going to make sure we have enough red paint on our plate or our palette. And it's up to you if you would like to first take a pencil and draw the hearts. I'm not going to do a sketch with a pencil. I'm going to do my best with my small paintbrush and put the hearts in without using a pencil sketch beforehand. But if you're more comfortable doing a pencil sketch first, go ahead and do that. So taking my small paintbrush, putting it into my water first, making sure, because these are acrylic paints, that my brush gets wet. Into my red paint, I'm going to do my heart. I'm going to do a nice big one. Just going to put it off to the side. You're not putting it right up against the branch. Leave a bit of space because we have to put the string that connects them. So I'm going to go a little bit lower down and I'm going to put my first heart. Just the outline. I've done one side. Getting some more paint, getting my brush wet again. Whew, done it. The first heart. I hope I have enough room for my other hearts. I'm going to leave that just for the outline we're going to do first. taking my red again, getting my brush wet, I'm going to put another little heart. Does not have to be the same height. They can be different heights. So I'm going to put maybe a little one right here. Oof, heart number 2. So it's always best to start on one side. I'm going to put another little heart right here. It's going to be one side, and then try and even off and balance the other side. I'm going to add 2 more. Gonna add maybe one right here. And I have to add one more for one more person in my family. I'm actually going to put the one more right here. It just means that one heart is going to be in front of the other, and that is okay. If you have enough room to add all of them across the bottom, great, go ahead and do that. So now what I have to do is get ready to fill in the color for the hearts. I'm taking my brush, my large brush, because I'm going to be covering a fairly large area with the red. I'm going to take my large brush, making sure that your background is dry, because if it's not dry, you're going to pull some of that green color background into your heart. I'm going to fill my hearts in. How are we doing? Fill your heart in. Oh wow, look at that. There's my first heart. How are your hearts coming along? There's my first one. I'm gonna call that one the me heart. That's my heart. It's important that you love yourself. That is so important. I'm going to go on to my second heart. There we go. Filling it in. How are you doing? I've got 2 of my hearts done. Today I'm doing 5 hearts instead of 3, which I had in my original. And that's okay because I am the artist. I get to decide how I would like my painting to go. I'm going to fill this one in. Three of my hearts are done. I'm going to do this one next. So it's best to use your large brush because if you have large hearts, you want to get the large brush to fill that in. There we go. How are you doing? Good. And my last heart, which is going to be slightly behind my first one, I'm going to put that in so they're almost overlapping. Just fix that up a little right there. There we go. Now, if your background color is really dark, you might see a bit of the color coming through your red, depending on the type of paint that you have. That's okay. You can let that dry a bit and then go in again with a second coat of the red to get better coverage. If your background color is really dark, it just might show through. I'm giving everything a quick second coat, because this time around I had a fairly dark background compared to my original. Oh, we're almost there. Putting a second coat of red so I don't see my dark background through the heart. Oh wow, I really like that I picked 5 hearts to do this time. It's going to take a little longer if you're doing 5 hearts instead of the 3 hearts, so you take your time and get your hearts done. Do the outline. You can start with pencil first if that's easier for you, and then you can go back in and do it with an outline with the red afterwards. I just went directly, taking my small brush and just doing the outline in the red paint, and then I filled in the insides of my heart. So now what I want to do is give my heart a sort of 3D effect. 3D, so it doesn't just look like a flat red heart. I want my heart to look like it's actually full of love. It's like pumping with lots of love inside of it. So to get that 3D effect, I'm going to add a bit of a highlight to the painting. And to create that highlight, I'm going to take a little bit of white while the paint is still wet. I don't want it to dry. I want the paint to be a little bit wet. I'm going to take my small brush that I have, getting it wet first, and taking a tiny touch of white. A little bit of white, not a lot, on my brush. And I'm going to decide what side I would like the light to come from. So I'm going to say that the light is coming from this end of my painting, the left side of my painting. And now I'm going to do almost like a C shape on the one side of the heart to give it that sort of 3D effect. So take a look at what I mean. I'm taking my white, not a lot. My paint is still wet, and I'm just going to take it and do a sort of C shape, following the shape of the heart. Can you see that? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to clean my brush because I have 5 of these to do. Taking a little bit of white, going on the one side of the heart with a sort of C shape. So I'm following the curvature of the heart. I'm going to follow the curve from about the midpoint, going up, the sort of C shape, and down. I'm going to clean my brush again. Take up a little white again. I'm going to go on the one side because my light is coming from that end. And I'm just going to do that C shape. Can you see it? I've got a little bit of a 3D shape to my heart. I've got 2 more to do because I've decided to do 5 hearts today to represent everyone in my family. I'm cleaning my brush again. I'm going to do my last one. And there we go. I put 5 little highlights on my heart. Now if you want to, you don't have to do this step. You can do a little more blending with your white just in this zone. You don't have to though. There we go. So now my heart has a sort of 3D effect. It doesn't look flat, completely flat. It's got a sort of 3D effect. So I'm going to need my hearts to dry a bit. And while I wait for my hearts to dry, I'm going to get ready to do the string that's connecting my heart to the branch. To do the string, you can use some of the brown that you mixed before. You can take some of that brown and mix it with a little bit of white. So I'm mixing brown and white. So it's not as dark as my branch. Nope. I'm mixing my brown with my white to get a lighter brown. And this is string. String can be any color, so it does not have to be brown. If you wanted to do your string in red, go ahead and do your string in red. This is your painting. It does not have to be. Now we're going to go in and do a string, and there's a few different ways that I would recommend that you do this. We spoke before about using your thin brush. Don't apply much pressure. You can get a nice thin line. Or you can take your popsicle stick, a clean popsicle stick, put it into the brown and use that to draw your line with. That's an option as well. I'm going to be using my small paintbrush. And I'm going to connect my heart all the way to the branch. So if it's easier for you, you can start from the heart and go all the way up. If you're not too good with drawing straight lines, you might take perhaps another canvas that you've got, and you can use it to guide you and connect your line from one point to the next. So I've taken another canvas that I've gotten, and I'm just going to connect my line from my tree branch all the way down to my heart, using the canvas as the guide. I'm not pressing much. There's my first line. I don't know if you can see it. Did my first line. I'm probably going to do the other ones freehand, but if it's easier for you, get something that can guide from the branch all the way down to your heart. I'm going to do the rest of them freehand. I'm going to see where it is, going from my branch all the way down. Then number 2, I've got 3 more to do because I've done 3 little hearts. So I'm going to go from this one. It's going to go from the branch all the way down. I've done 3 of them. Now I need to do 2 more. Doesn't matter what direction, whichever is easiest for you. And now I've got 1 more that I need to get done. Going all the way from the heart, all the way up, all the way up. It's going to be, I'll make it fun. Good. I've got my 5 strings connecting my hearts to the branches. When I get to the branch, I'm just going to put a nice little bow. I don't quite have bows on this one, but you can definitely, as the artist, add or a little knot, whatever works for you, however you want to connect it to. I'm going to do a nice little bow. You definitely have to wrap it all the way across the branch. Then you can tie a little bow in there. 2 little loops and 2 loose strings. Just in case, I'll show you what the bow looks like. I did 2 little loops, 1 little loop, another little loop, and then 2 loose strings at the bottom. There's my little bow. Yep. 1 little loop, a second little loop, and then 2 little strings. And for the last one, the They don't have to be the same lengths because it would have been tied. It does not have to be exactly the same length. So now I've got my 5 little hearts, the string connecting it to the branch. We are almost at the end of our paint session and getting this done. But what I want to do now is add a few little flowers coming in on my little leaves. And then my last step would be to go back onto the heart and add some detail and patterns and designs to my hearts. So I'm going to go into my little leaves that I had, the little buds that are coming in, and I thought I would add a few little flowers. For that, I would recommend that you take your small brush and you decide what color flowers you would like. So I would recommend whatever color you use, which is red, or if you choose to use yellow, or if you have pink, whatever color you like, and a little bit of white. So put 2 colors onto your brush. I'm going to put yellow and white. Right now I've got 2 colors on my brush, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. And with dabbing motions, and I think we spoke about dabbing motions before, it's something my kids have asked me not to do in public, but I like to dab. And so I'm going to use dabbing motion, which is back and forth on my canvas, creating sort of little dots. So I'm going to put that at the center of each of my little buds. They're going to be like little flowers. So 1 little dabs. There we go. Can you see that? Little tiny dabs. Just where I put my leaves. And I have 2 little colors on my brush, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. If you wanted to use red and white, go ahead. If you wanted to use blue and white, whatever color you'd like the little flowers on your tree to be. And we're almost near the end. So now that I've put my little buds in, we're getting ready to get to the end stage and the end step. My little buds are in. I've got the strings connecting the hearts to the branch of the tree. And so now I'm going to get ready to put some designs on my heart. If you look at the original one that I had, this one has polka dots. I'm going to show you how to create those polka dots. But again, you are the artist. You get to decide how you would like your hearts to look and what you would like to put on. To do the polka dots, I'm going to be using the back of my paintbrush. And I'm going to put little white dots on it. And so I'm going to take the back of my paintbrush, put it into my white paint, and then I'm going to take it and put polka dots using the back of my brush on one of my hearts. Which one should it be? Maybe I'll pick this one at the bottom. Using the back of your brush, put little polka dots. How are you doing? Little polka dots. I don't know if you can see it on my back of my brush. How are we doing? Little polka dots. This little heart's got polka dots with white. You can put whatever you'd like on your heart, whatever pattern, whatever design you would like on your heart. Doesn't have to be polka dots if you don't want it to be polka dots. If you just want to leave it all red, that's fine as well. This is your painting. Oh, almost there. Oh, I think it looks so cute. I hope yours is looking cute as well. Drop me a line. Let me know how you're doing. And remember, at the end of the session, you can send in your pictures from your paintings. I'd like to see how you did, how perhaps you might have done it differently. I'm just guiding you through the steps, but this is your painting, so you can definitely design your painting as you'd like it to be. There are my little polka dots on my heart. How are your polka dots coming along? You can have more than one heart with polka dots if you wanted to. Hmm, look at that. Nice little polka dots on my heart. Ooh, what should I do for my second heart? I think I might put a few stripes in. So I'm going to use some white stripes. Again, this is your painting. You can add whatever design you would like to your hearts. Which one should I put let's put some lines on this heart. I'm going to do some diagonal lines, I think, on this little heart that's in the corner. Taking my small brush, making sure that it's wet and that I've gotten it into the white paint that I'm going to be using, I will put some diagonal hearts on lines on my heart. Here we go. Taking your time. Don't rush it. Oh, there we go. Can you see? I've done two little lines, adding a few more. I'm doing diagonal lines, not pressing very much on my brush because I want my lines to be very, very thin. I'm adding some lines to my painting. These are diagonal. If you wanted to do them straight across, you could. If you wanted to do them up and down, you could. Oop, there's my second heart. I've done diagonal lines on it. Oh boy, what am I going to do for my next heart? Let's see. I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add little X's. Yep, going to add little X's using my small brush, white paint. I'm just going to put little X's. Using the tip of my brush. Don't press much. If you really want it to be very tiny, don't press much on your brush. I'm liking this. Oh, yep, little X's going all the way across. The tip of my brush, not much pressure is being applied to. Whoa, I love it. Remember that on this one that I did, the big heart is in front of the one at the back that I'm working on right now with the little X's. So I'm not going to put the little X's all the way because my big red heart that has nothing, no design on it, is going to be at the front. Here we go. Can you see that one? So I've got polka dots, I've got lines in a diagonal direction, and I've got little X's. Ooh, what should I do for this one on the side? I'm going to leave my big one just plain red, just like that. But now I got to think of what I want to do with this one at the end. Now, you can always look back at these videos that we're doing. They will be saved for future on my Facebook page, Art and Soul with Nicole. My name is Mrs. Alexander, so I'm hoping that you can join me again. Gonna see, what am I gonna do for this last heart that I'm gonna decorate? I'm thinking I might do, maybe I will do some lines just going up and down all the way. So let's see. Oh no, I'm going to do squiggly lines, I think. Squiggly lines it is. Here we go. I love it. I'm going to do more of that. So I'm going to do a pattern of squiggly lines. You are the artist. You get to decide what you would like on your painting. Follow the same pattern. Here we go. I did it. I've created 5 different designs for my hearts. So I've left one of them plain, and then I've done these 2. They've all got, this one's got polka dot, one's got little X's on it, one's got diagonal hearts on it, and my last one that I did has little squiggly lines. I cannot wait to see what kind of design you've done for your hearts. How many of you did 3 hearts? How many of you did 5 hearts? Let me know how you're doing. This has been, this has been a wonderful experience. I hope you enjoyed painting with me today. Always remember, you are the artist. You get to decide what you would like to add on your painting, what color background you would like. This is your painting, and I want you to be as creative as you like. Complete your painting of your picture, and when you've done that, I want you to send that in to me so I can see what you did. I want to see all the paintings that you created today. How many hearts you put in there? How many different designs did you use when you were filling in your hearts? You can leave them plain. You can add more to it. An essential step when you're painting and when you are finished everything is clean your brush at the end. So always make sure that you've cleaned your paint brushes. Don't leave it sitting in the paint out to dry and harden. That's going to destroy your paintbrushes. And we want to make sure we hold on to the things that we care about and that we look after them so we can use them another time again. And the important step that every artist should do when they are finished is sign and date their painting. You're probably wondering, well, why do I have to sign and date my painting? That's because if you become a famous artist later on, and they ask, well, what was your first painting that you did? We want to know. You want to make sure that your painting, once you've completed it, is signed and dated. So I'm going to take what I have, which is a paint pen. If you don't have a paint pen, that's okay. You can use a Sharpie if that's what you have, or you can use your tiniest brush. Doesn't matter where you sign your painting. You can sign at the back if you would like to. I'm going to put my initials, and then I'm going to put 2020. Initials and then 2020. If you want to write your first name, then your last name, and then the year, that's fine as well. You don't have to necessarily put April and the exact date, as long as we know the year it was done. That way we will know how old you were at the time. That way in the future, like I said, if you become a famous artist and they ask, well, what was your first painting? They might want to buy that painting for millions of dollars. I have no idea. Might be an idea. I don't know. I'm going to sign the front of this one with my initials. So choose to pick and sign either the back of your painting or the front of your painting once you are finished. I'm going to put my initials, MA 2020. And now you have that. Now, don't let this be your last painting. And if you've tried it and it didn't quite work this first time, try painting it again. You have a couple different options. You can get a fresh, new blank canvas, or once this is dry, if you weren't too pleased with what you've done, don't be hard on yourself. Remember that you can always do it over again or keep trying. Remember that for me as well, I've always been practicing. The more I practice, the better I become at it. So you can do one for your family that you're living with right now. You can paint another one for your special auntie that you haven't been able to see in a while. Or you can paint a special one for your nana or grandpa or grandma. Whoever it is that comes to mind, you can paint these special hearts for them. You can put a heart for yourself, maybe one for them as well. And when we are out of this social distancing and physical distancing and we're able to get back together with the ones that we love, you can give them this to help them remember the times. So paint your hearts away. Keep painting. It's so good for you. It relaxes you. It can take your mind away so that even though we can't be outside, at least we get to paint and take ourselves away using our canvas. Paint. Don't ever stop. Please send me your images. Tell me how old you were. Send me an image of your painting. I cannot wait to see those hearts that represent love and loving those who we can't necessarily be with at this time. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that we can do this again next Wednesday at 1. So I'm going to try and keep it up doing it Wednesdays at 1, and I will let you know what our next painting will be. Perhaps you might have an idea for me of what you would like to paint next. What do you want to paint? Send me some messages to let me know. Ask Mom and Dad, send me some messages to let me know what it is you would like to paint next. And send in a couple ideas, and then maybe we might take a vote, or we can just decide which ones we would like to do for special occasions that might be coming up. So send me those notes. Let me know how you're doing. Send me the images of your final painting. Make sure you've signed and dated your painting. And then send me what it is you'd like to paint next. Wednesdays at 1. Thank you for joining Mrs. Alexander. I hope that we can paint together again. And you don't have to wait for Wednesday. Keep painting. So even if I'm not painting with you in an online session, do continue to paint on as many things as you can. Not the walls. Paint on whole pieces of cardboard, paint on canvas, paint on paper. Always keep painting. And the more you practice, the better you become at it. Thank you for joining Mrs. Alexander today, and I look forward to seeing your beautiful paintings. Take care. Thanks. Bye.